All right, let's get right into it. We're talking about a really powerful warning, and it's coming from one of the most important minds in modern technology.
And this right here, this is the urgent plea from the man they call the Godfather of AI himself, Geoffrey Hinton.
Yeah, he actually walked away from a huge job at Google just so he could say this stuff out loud. Which begs the question, right? What is it that he's so desperate for us to hear? So, let's get into the why. I mean, this is a guy who spent his entire 50-year career building this technology. Why the sudden, drastic change of heart? You see, for half a century, Hinton's entire life's work was all about proving we could create these things called neural networks. Basically, computer systems that learn like a human brain. He was the guy championing this when almost everyone else thought it was a dead end. And that's exactly why it's so chilling when he's the one sounding the alarm now.
He basically had this moment where he realized the tech he brought into the world was on a trajectory to become smarter than us. Think about that. That's a situation we, as a species, have never ever had to deal with. And this isn't some old fear he's had for decades. Nope. This is a new, urgent realization for him.
Okay, so to make this whole thing a bit easier to wrap our heads around, Hinton breaks the danger down into two big categories.
So on one side, you've got the stuff that's happening right now, or is right around the corner. Bad actors, humans using AI for nasty stuff like cyber attacks and fake news. But then there's the other side, the long-term, existential risk. The risk that the AI itself could just take over. And honestly, it's that second one that really keeps Hinton up at night, mostly because a lot of people just don't think it's a real possibility.
All right, so let's tackle the first bucket, the here and now. How are people already misusing this tech?
And look, this isn't some sci-fi movie plot. Hinton is pointing to real, growing problems. We're talking about AI being used to cook up new bioweapons, to totally corrupt elections with personalized fake news, or to build killer robots. I mean, any single one of those is terrifying on its own.
And if you need proof of how fast this is moving, just look at this number. A 12,200% increase in AI-driven cyber attacks in just 1 year. Wow. That's how fast these tools get turned into weapons, used for things like super convincing scams designed to steal everything from you.
Okay, but now we get to the real heart of Hinton's warning, the big one, the risk that he's screaming from the rooftops about, because he thinks we just aren't taking it seriously enough. This is such a powerful way to put it. It really forces you to think, what is it like when we're not the smartest things around? We've always been at the top of the food chain, intelligence-wise. But Hinton's point is that our top spot, well, it's not guaranteed forever.
And when he talks about superintelligence, he doesn't just mean a computer that knows a lot of facts, like a walking encyclopedia. He means something that is genuinely smarter than the smartest human in basically every way. Reasoning, creativity, you name it. And his timeline for this? 10 to 20 years. That's not some distant future. That's right around the corner.
He uses this great analogy of a tiger cub. Right now, AI is kind of like that. It's fascinating, it's cute, it's fun to play with. But that cub is going to grow up into a full-blown tiger. And when it does, you better be absolutely certain it doesn't want to eat you, because if it does, you're done. We can't just cross our fingers and hope it likes us.
So, okay, beyond the whole end of the world scenario, what does this AI revolution mean for you and me, for our jobs, our sense of purpose, our society?
He literally said this, train to be a plumber. And he wasn't kidding. It's his genuine career advice, because in a world where AI is king of intellectual work, he thinks jobs that require skilled physical work are going to be some of the last ones standing.
I mean, think about that for a second. The Godfather of AI is telling people to become plumbers. What does that say about the future for all the knowledge workers out there? You know, paralegals, accountants, writers, artists.
This is a totally different ballgame from the Industrial Revolution. Back then, machines replaced muscle power. This time, they're replacing brain power, at least the routine parts of it. And the big worry is, if one AI can do the jobs of, say, 100 accountants, what happens to those accountants? It could lead to massive unemployment and make the gap between the rich and everyone else a whole lot wider.
So, with all these threats on the table, you might think Hinton's just throwing his hands up in despair. But he's not. His message is one of urgency. He's calling for action right now.
And here's his core argument. Big tech companies are in a race for profit and power. They aren't going to spend billions on safety research on their own, because safety doesn't sell. That's why he says governments have to step in and force them, make them pour massive resources into figuring out how to control this stuff before we can't.
You know, he's pretty honest about how he feels. He says some days he wakes up depressed and thinks, yeah, we're toast. But on his good days, he's more optimistic, thinking maybe, just maybe, we can figure this out. And it's that uncertainty, the fact that even he doesn't know, that makes this all so incredibly serious.
And so, this is the question he leaves us with. It's the ultimate question, really. We are building something that will be smarter than us. Can we be sure that it won't look at us one day and just decide we're in the way? According to the man who started it all, figuring that out might be the most important thing humanity ever does. And just ignoring the question, that's not an option.